the December 20th, 2018 Piqua City School Board of Education regular meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Patrizio?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Mrs. McMecken? Here. Mr. Bostic?
Here.
Mr. Height?
Here. Would you please stand and join me in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you should have had an opportunity to review the minutes of our November 11th work session and the November 15th regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Okay. If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from those two meetings?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And also, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are. We made some corrections to the three-year comparison. There were some wrong numbers, some numbers from November on there instead of the current month, so we had to correct that before the meeting.
Okay, we'll pick that up in the financials. Okay. All right, if there's no other additions or corrections, we have a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Career Center Board report is going to be real easy. We don't have anything to report tonight out of the ordinary. So, Mr. Patrizio, legislative report.
It's my understanding that they passed the graduation requirements for this year. I don't know if the administrator wants to explain what they did. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, they extended last year's graduation rates, the graduation rates, the alternative graduation pathways into this year.
I think
Has that been finalized?
Yeah.
Yep. It's been done. They did it for the next 2 years, is that right?
I thought it was just this year.
I think it's 1 year, and
Just 1 year.
ultimately what they're trying to do is decide on the upcoming freshman class, what will be their requirements so that they have a consistent graduation outline or template to follow. Right now, all the people in high school don't really know quite what their graduation requirements are going to be, so kind of a sticky situation if you're a student or a parent trying to get through high school.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Patrizio? If not, I have nothing on hearing of the public on agenda items, so we'll go to the treasurer's agenda.
You guys were presented with the 2018 monthly reports, and Jeremy let you all know what was going on. If you had any questions, you can ask it.
There are questions? Do we need to make that? Or this?
It's already been corrected.
Okay, this
Yep.
is the corrected. Okay.
Make a motion to accept the corrected version of the treasurer's report.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the treasurer's agenda? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Superintendent's report.
Good evening, thank you. We have the high school with us this evening. We always like to start my report off with some kind of an academic achievement report from each of the buildings, and this week we have, or this month rather, we have the high school. So Mr. Messick, our lead principal, will come up and introduce who he has with us this evening.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple parts here. I'm going to introduce our foreign exchange students as part of their obligation. They have to present to a group. So we have two young ladies. We got Tamora and Karina. Tamorna is from Poland, and she's going to, oh my gosh, I'm messing this all up. She is from Georgia. She is going to go ahead and present to you guys. She's going to talk a little about herself, and please ask her questions. And then after this is done, then I'll follow up with what's going on at Piqua High School. All right, you ready? All right.
Hello everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Kamina Manuvishvili. I'm 17 years old and I'm exchange student from Georgia country. And it's honorable for me here that I'm here today. I'm really glad that I have opportunity to attend this board meeting today. And I want to use this chance and say thanks for everyone for your effort that I'm exchange student here. That's really is important for me as being exchange student is the greatest thing in my life. So today I will tell you a little about my program. So Flex is a program, exchange program, which under I'm here. This stands for like future leader exchange program, and AYA is my organization, which tends to hear about me. And this board meeting is a part of my requirements I should do here. Exchange student, being exchange student here is really amazing because you have to go to another different life. You have really different and new environment. People around you are different. They are really amazing people, and I really appreciate them because here American people are really friendly. Also, I want to tell about my experience from Piqua High School. I really like Piqua High School. I love this school because it's really different from Georgian school. I'm here senior, and I'm 17 years old, and I'm going to graduate here, and I'm really excited about this. And so I participate in different sports. I was playing tennis, and now I'm part of bowling team, and this means really that's really important for me as we don't have teams in Georgian high school. Also, I'm in tea club and Spanish club, and that's really good to make new friends, to introduce American values and American culture. And I really appreciate all of this stuff that you have really great culture and great traditions. So I'm going to, after graduation, I'm going to back to my country in Georgia, and I'm going to go to college. I want to become a doctor, so I have to work hard, and I'm ready for this because that's another big challenges in my life. To become an exchange student was my first biggest challenges in my life, and I did that, and I'm here today, and the being doctor is another one. So that's all I wanted to tell today, and thank you for everything, for your effort, for everything you made for me. Thanks again.
Well, welcome to Piqua, and we're glad you're part of the Piqua City Schools this year.
Thank you.
So what's the capital of Georgia?
Tbilisi.
No, it's Atlanta.
It's always got to be a
Here
smart
we
one.
go.
Hello, my name is exchange student from Poland. At first, I would like to thank you so much, guys, for having me here and for giving me this chance to introduce myself and telling a little about me being an exchange student and coming to completely another country. Like I said, I am from Poland. Here in United States, I spent already nearly 5 months, but to Piqua High School, I attend over 1 month. And it has been a really, really great experience for me. I really love the school. I found a lot of amazing people here and found some new things about your culture and also about myself. I am a senior. I have this huge opportunity to graduate from Piqua High School this year, which is just amazing to think. About about me, I am a student who really loves art. I am really interested in it. I am thinking about connecting my future with it. So, of course, I am thinking about attending to college. I still not sure if I want to stay in my country, in Poland, and attending to school in my city, in Krakow, or to come here to United States, or either going somewhere else abroad. I will, after this, after the college, I want to become illustrator or graphic designer. The question that I get a lot is why I actually came here. A lot of students, teachers ask me that. If I would be honest, I would say that I have always dreamed, it has always been a huge dream of mine to come to United States, to get to know this culture that I heard a lot of about from my friends or from social media, yeah, I used to travel a lot and I absolutely love that. It's just something what opens your eyes and makes you a completely different person. So it has been a huge challenge for me to come here, but I'm really happy that I actually did. Yes, I have always also wanted to go to Piqua American High School because it gives just a lot of different opportunities that I think that, for example, Polish education system doesn't. You can really develop yourself here, and I could already see that attending to the classes that I would actually want to have. We don't have this in Poland. We have those classes that we need to take and that maybe aren't that enjoyable for us as they are here. Also, going here, attending all the different clubs. Like I'm in a Key club, I am in choir, I am in a Harry Potter club, like all those different things. I'm doing bowling right now, and I'm thinking about another sport, about doing another sport during the next season. I'm doing bowling with Hamuna. So that's basically how we met each other and get to know each other better. Yes, about my adventure here, because I would call it like that. It's just amazing because I get here for on the scholarship. I got a scholarship. I am also a FLEX program student, so Future Leaders Exchange program. And I won't lie, it was really hard to get here. It was like 2,800 people and just from Poland, and just 43 people came here at the end. So I'm pretty proud of myself. It was a huge success. I was so excited when I found out, and I need to say that this exchange is cultural one. So the most important thing about being here is basically getting to know your culture and sharing mine, which I am all the time trying to do. About the differences, I would say that because all the people are asking me, what is different in Poland? How is that? How is that? And I am like, well, everything is pretty different, and that's why everything here is so interesting. And like, for example, really nice here. Like they are really great. In Poland, you won't see that people, because here people are just talking with each other, even if they don't know each other. It was so strange for me when I came here, and like people smiling to you, like in the shop, or asking how are you doing. It doesn't really happen in my country. I mean, my country is great. I just love my city, I love my country, and I started to notice like not only the great things about America here, but also the things that I didn't notice before about my country. So it really developed my character and my how I see things. Yes, so at the end I would like to say that I am really, really grateful for being here in Piqua High School. Like I said, I met a lot of amazing people. I met the coolest teachers. I really, really enjoy my time here, and that I can actually develop myself in some way. And I would like to thank you so much, guys. And I am looking forward for those next months here. And I want to see what is ahead of me. Thank you.
It was funny. I was talking to Mr. Uhl, their government teacher, and when I was telling him that they're coming in here to speak tonight, he goes, "Oh man, they are so awesome. They're the greatest exchange students we've ever had." And so he speaks very highly of you guys, and I know you speak highly of them. So thank you so much for coming here tonight.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. If you guys want to go ahead and go into the meeting, it's up to you. I'm going to kind of just do a couple.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
I just want to kind of update you real quick on some things that are going on at the high school. As you know, our theme this whole year has been our success-bound theme, getting kids to be a little bit more career-minded. Actually, Jeff, Scott, and I have all kind of tried to figure out a way to link this up at the high school, the junior high, and one of our big focus points is to have targeted electives. Because we wanted to make sure that, we have a lot of choices for our kids, but to actually create electives where kids are going to get a chance to experience careers and maybe create a career pathway for them as they're attending high school. So a couple things that have happened is our media program. First, we've kind of completely transitioned that. It's been Media 1, Media 2, Media 3. But the media, like I said, the art department, they decided to go ahead, change those classes around, and now we're going to be looking at foundations of design and print, foundations of video design, foundations of animation, Photoshop, and Premiere Pro, which is video editing. The neat thing about all of these courses is at the completion of these, it becomes a credentialed pathway. So now at Piqua High School, instead of just going through the scores on your the air test, we'll now have a credentialed pathway in media and art. So a kid can go in, they take these series of classes, then pass the work keys, they'll be able to graduate. So we're very excited about that, and especially our art department for making this big jump. And Scott for helping us out transitioning over to that. We also want to have, like we said, some of those targeted electives. So we wanted to create a bunch of survey courses as our kids are coming in. Jeff's doing the same thing down at the junior high. But right now, our goal is for all freshmen and sophomores to take one or more of these classes. One of them is going to be Intro to Design, which is going to be kind of that art and media type pathway, so kids can go into the semester course. They're going to get a little taste of everything that they do. Then they can plan themselves and say, okay, now I'm going to take the Photoshop course since I've got it, I see what that's all about. We also are going to add a class called Human Body Systems. Human Body Systems is going to be kind of an introductory into medical career fields. So that should target or lead right into our nursing program or any other medical fields that kids want to go into. With that, we're adding anatomy and physiology and medical term. as electives. I think we've already talked about our STMA program. We're also going to be adding in, this was actually just got finalized a couple days ago. We're going to be doing computer design essentials, or computer programming essentials, science essentials, that's what it is. So as this was getting finalized really yesterday, going through it. So with that, it's going to be to lead into our, we still need development, but we do have an AP computer science class. So to create interest for that career. And then already we have our intro to intro to tech, exploration tech for freshmen, and then we have our success bound classes. So once again, instead of just taking random classes, we're trying to get a little bit more career focused. Very excited about that. So you'll be looking to approve these next board meeting when we put that stuff on the agenda for you. So anyway, like I said, it's exciting. Thanks to Scott and Jeff for helping me get all that put together. Appreciate it. You guys have any questions?
Sounds like you've been busy.
Yes, we all have. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Just to point out too that the last Dayton Business Journal did a really nice article on our city, and part of that included all the work that the high school is doing with the Success Bound program and how that leads our students into the workforce. So they got spotlighted in that, and it was a really good article that they did for us. Next is the approval of the 2019-2020 Piqua City School District calendar. We always do that in December. That gives the community as well as the staff, everybody to kind of have that chance to be able to make decisions on what they want to do for summers and trips and those kinds of things. So our start date would be August 19th. The end date would be May 29th. There would be a Christmas break as well as a spring break. Serving on the committee was, we had administrators as well as staff, certified and classified. We had board representation and parents all on there. And kind of what they do is they get together and put up all the sacred cows, if you will, about what are the things that they really want. We try to meet as many of those as we can. You can't do every single one of them because there are a lot of things out there people want with a calendar, but I think this is the best calendar we could come up with. Any questions on that? No. Okay. We did get notification this week about the school district as well as Piqua Central Intermediate getting the Momentum Award, and this is our second year in a row for getting that award. We missed it 3 years ago by one category. That was our gifted, and we know what happened. There was a miscommunication of data at that point. I believe we would have had it 3 years if that would have been communicated properly to the state. But having it 2 years in a row is really a significant accomplishment. That means that we exceeded the growth, expected growth that the state had for us in 5 different categories. That would be for all students, IEP students, gifted students, economically disadvantaged, and any students that we would have that might fall in the bottom 20% statewide. So we got a really nice letter from Tess Esselhoff, who is from the State Board of Education, and they'll be getting us a presentation for that soon. So I'm really pleased on behalf of the district as well as Piqua Central Intermediate for achieving that. We also got notification this week on a new honor that they're giving out, which is called the High Progress School of Honor, and Washington Primary School got that honor. They only gave 66 of those out of 500 and I think 60 something districts, which is a lot of schools. Only 66 got this, and Washington was one of those. So we're really proud about that. To get that, they have to be a Title I school, which means they would have to have at least 40% of their students being economically disadvantaged. Show gains on a combined reading and math proficiency rate in the last 5 years between 14 and 18, and meet or exceed the 90th percentile in statewide gains, which is really significant. They have gap closing grade of an A, B, or C in the 17 or 18 school year. So congratulations to Washington for getting that award, which is a really big deal. It's really, really great that we've got that. Next, I just wanted to kind of provide a quick update on our Piqua Indian Alumni Nation. Really excited about this. It's just one of those fun things. My main goal is really just to get our alumni together. You know, I think a lot of classes have formed Facebook pages, and they've kind of done their own unit, if you will, and I'd like to get that culture together where they're just updated on the future and the past of our schools, and we do some fun things with them, but I don't want it to come just from me. So we're getting as many registrations as we can. Currently, we have well over 500 registered, all the way from classes ranging in 1941 to 2018. Robert Folker is our oldest alumni we have registered so far. and the 1980s have the most registrations. So those were good years for Piqua High School. 2004 has everybody beat with the most registrations. So we're going to continue to do that, advertise it, get that information out there. We're going to pull people from each generation to form the first committee, and we'll see what they come up with for the Alumni Nation. So we're excited about getting that kicked off. You heard Rob talk about the Success Bound. The junior high school went to CRAEX. They took their students there, and Mimi Crawford, a former board member and a great advocate for our education system, they had the best time with our students, and they sent this video that I think just captures all of what we keep talking about with Success Bound. So I wanted to show you this little 2-minute video so you can see a little bit of what the excitement the kids had for that day. So great company, very successful. We've also had students go to French Oil, and I don't know who was more excited when Mimi was talking about this, their employees or her. She really genuinely had a good time with this, and it was just a lot of fun to hear her talk about our students there. So I thought that would be a good video to share with you. You guys, earlier in the year, you approved the students at the high school to go to Gettysburg, and they went to that trip and came back, and a student wrote a letter to you that I thought was really nice, and I would share that to you. Dear Mr. Thompson and the board, on behalf of my U.S. history class at the high school, I would like to thank each of you for allowing us to take the class to our trip to Gettysburg that we had last week. I can assure you that physically being upon the terrains in which the battle took place gave each of us, every one of us, a new perspective and appreciation for the battle tactics that were used in 1863. We were able to acquire a new sense of how important the high ground was in winning the battle and where the Union fishhook took place. Thank you again for giving us that chance to embark on such an amazing learning experience. Sincerely, Dr. Jackson. So he's very appreciative of that. Each December and each June, we always do an update on our bullying reports, and Tony's got that information that he's going to share with you.
So what you're getting now is the August to December report. Once Andy gets that moving along there, we'll get it out to you.
Fingers are going slow today.
What I've given you is a breakdown by building. What you'll see there is a high concentration at Piqua Central Intermediate, which is not uncommon. And those are reports. So what that means is this is any incident that's reported by a student or a parent through the hotline that we have available to us. Total incidents reported on the hotline from that period of time, not just including bullying, were 87. The 60 were the bullying where they referenced the bullying or used the bullying hotline. What our principals find, and I explained to you that once that goes into that system, it alerts the principal, we get alerted as well, and then the principals or assistant principals follow up on that, and then they make a determination whether or not that's bullying or not. As you can see, with 6 deemed to be bullying, and what at that point, the principals put a plan into place for that particular situation. Most of the time, what they find is that it's an incident or incidents. So 2 kids that aren't getting along, or 3 students that aren't getting along, something like that, and they put something into place to help repair that relationship or resolve the conflict. So as you can see, the volume's high, which means that after 2 years of us trying to get kids and parents in there to report that, so we have documentation, it's showing that it's working a little bit. We're encouraging folks when they have issues to get in there and report, and it's happening. The good news is that we're able to work together and communicate with all those folks that get the bullying reports, and they do a great job of following up at the building level. And again, I met with a parent today, and I would encourage them to, if they have an issue, make sure they're communicating with their building principals. We can't do anything about an issue or a problem if we don't know. And that's the biggest thing, which is why it's encouraging to see that the reporting's happening electronically through the program. Again, numbers by building, total 60. Just to give you a comparison, last year we had 59 at this time, so pretty much the same. And 11 of those were deemed to be what we consider by definition bullying, harassment, or intimidation. So that definition's right there as well, and that's on the hotline. So when people go in to report, they have to see that definition before they can actually report.
We do get a number of not bullying. Sometimes students don't have a place to go. So what I really like about this system is if somebody reports, let's just say a kid gets on there and says, someone's going to beat me up, they'll call us right away and make sure we saw that report so that we can get on and do something about it right away. But we've had students get on there and say that they're in a dangerous situation, either at home or maybe they've been abused in some way or something like that, and they don't have anywhere else to go. So instead of reporting a bullying situation, they'll get on there and actually kind of call out a plea for help. And that will come to us, and we're able to react to those. A lot of times in the weekends, late evenings, we'll get those where a kid finally had a chance to be able to get to a computer and do something. So the system's done a lot more than just, I think, help with the bullying situation, but it's given us a chance to be able to go in and help kids with some other situations. And Tony's right. We spend a lot of time talking to parents and students about getting on there and reporting these things, because if it ever turns into a situation that becomes pervasive, we want that paper trail, if you will, to show the history of what's going on so our discipline can get more progressive and we can take better action if it's reported. So we don't shy away from this ever. We want kids and parents to use this. It's on the front page of our website. We constantly tell people, make sure you take the few minutes that is required to go in and do that. We'll address it, but by doing that, it gives all of us that important communication so we can always be on top of it.
I think one of the most difficult things the principals experience is when there's limited information, and that happens a lot. In the 61, I would estimate, because I have to go through each one of them to see whether or not it's bullying to give you the report, I would estimate probably 30 to 40% of them come in with not enough information for us to really do a great investigation. And so what will happen is a kiddo will put it in there, so-and-so is picking on me, but we can't ever get to the point where we find out who that person is because they're reporting anonymously. So sometimes we get limited information and we're able to talk to the student they're pointing out and have a conversation with them, but we really don't ever get to the root cause if in fact it's there. So the more we encourage kids to use it, we also want to give them a way to get us as much information as they can. Understanding that when they go to the principals aren't sharing that information out with everybody publicly. They're simply trying to work through the problem with whomever's involved. So
We also get pranks. We just had one, I think, yesterday or today where a sibling got a hold of somebody's phone and thought it would be funny to say somebody's beating you up or whatever, and the principal took time to get the kid and investigate, and they said, I don't have any problems, and then it hit him, oh yeah, my sister had my phone, she must have done this. So we get stuff like that, or they'll just write a cuss word or something, and we can weed those out pretty easily, but still takes time, and we do take that seriously, and sometimes the students get disciplined if they make a false report on there that's taking our time, from other things. So
Can they do it anonymously or not?
they can. If they do that, the important thing is they have to give us enough information to be able to investigate
Right.
it. If they just say, I'm being picked on in music class, and that's it, we don't know who it is, we can't get any further information, we don't know who's picking on them, it's just a general statement.
No, if you had a lot of people getting on there
It's-
anonymously, just
Right.
get on there and say stuff.
Yeah.
And I give our students credit. We've had several where a student will get on and say, I'm really concerned about John. I see other kids that are saying things to him that just is not nice, and I think somebody should check on this. So it's not the kid themselves that reported. It's a peer looking out for one of their friends back. And I really appreciate when a student does that, because that's what it's about. That's the whole We Are Piqua concept, and that's the tenets that we have of PBIS that we've been putting in place, where students are paying attention to each other and making sure they're a part of the culture, not, ousted, so to speak. So I like it when our students do that, if they're being serious about it.
I think you both made the important point here. We can't do anything unless somebody tells us about it.
Right.
We need to know.
And I will say this to the ends of the earth, and I mean this in the most positive way, going to social media and putting out a statement never helps, because we're not on social media. We're not there reading it. We're not looking at it. We can't. There's just too much on there. We need people to follow what's in place, get to the website, get to there. It's on every one of the schools' website. It's on the front of ours. Call us. Give us that chance to work through it, because we are not on there. We couldn't respond to the social media stuff anyways, because it's personal, it's confidential, there are other people involved. That's not a way we can address the situation. So if people really want to get some help, they have to really get in here, put that information in, which gives us that chance to track it, and again, look for those pervasive behaviors so we can really address it long term. Any questions on that? The last thing I would just share is we are wrapping up, pun intended, helping out some families for Christmas. Every year, our staff adopts families in this community that need help. Robin Phipps leads that up. She's one of our counselors at Piqua Central Intermediate. She does a fantastic job of working with the YMCA and local church groups and other, finding those families that are really in need. And this year, we set a record for supporting 27 families. So our staff, going above and beyond, donating money and gifts to make sure 27 families in our community have a Christmas this year. So I just really think that's an important thing to point out. Our athletic teams, too, have joined in on that. So it's just been a great thing for them to do for families. I can move on to the superintendent's agenda. So I'd like to recommend the approval of the listed attachments for the donations. And just a couple to point out, Tori Edison donated a trailer to our marching band. Our marching band, if you've ever seen their show, has lots of props. They're very prop-oriented. They've got a lot of instruments and other things. This person actually donated a trailer to our band because they felt that it was so important to make sure that those resources got there. So just really appreciate that. We have a couple staff members that donated money for kids to get to their trips. And we had some memorial donations on behalf of Coach Asher to the Piqua Athletic Department. So we do appreciate those. Recommend board approval of the attached list of grants. So we did get some grants from the Piqua Community Foundation, as well as the Piqua Education Foundation, Walmart, Piqua Community Foundation, and the Miami County Foundation. And all of them have been great supporters of us. So we appreciate each and every one of those. Recommend board approval of the 2019-2020 school year calendar. And finally, we'd like to recommend the board approval of the attached facility usage agreement between Piqua City School District and the Miami County CSV for June 27th, 2019 and July 21st, 2018. They use our facilities in the summer. They do pay us for that time, and they've been successful in the past, so recommend them to do that.
And we've done that for several years.
Yeah, it's a good program. Any questions?
Okay. If there's no other questions, do we have a motion to accept the superintendent's agenda?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, personnel agenda, Mr. Lyons.
Quickly, Rob was talking about some of the programming that they're doing, and one of the things through Success Bound is communicating with the Superintendent's Advisory Council and trying to get as many of our folks in the community as possible to incorporate internships and student experiences out into the private sector. And interestingly enough, we had an opening within Piqua City Schools of an aide position, and when we talked to Rob and her guidance counselor, or the guidance counselor, they recommended a student who's kind of on the fence of what pathway to take, of education or I forget, marketing, I think, potentially, great young lady, and they recommended her over, and we were lucky enough to be able to get her into a position to get her an educational experience in Spring Creek Primary as an aide for the remainder of the year. So we're pretty excited about that and the experience for her, and she's on the agenda tonight, so I wanted to point that one out. The additional one was obviously a thank you to all of our volunteers, and just a reminder, if you're coming into the building for something quick, like you're reading to a class or something where you would just be spending time in a supervised position with teachers, you can come in and use the Raptor system. All you need is your ID. You don't need to come in here and get fingerprinted. If you're going to be doing a trip outside of the school district, that would be when you need to come in and get fingerprinted. So lots of different ways to get engaged with the schools. Outside of that, nothing else.
Nothing else? Okay, any other questions for Tony?
What are the two individuals doing that were in the bus accident?
So we get updated on a regular basis. They're both extremely fortunate. We as a district are extremely fortunate. I know Dwayne might want to talk a little bit more, but one is home safely and has some injuries that will require some additional support medically. And then our aide will be coming home soon, but was not able to return home today. His injuries were a little bit more extensive and will require some time to heal for sure. But again, both just, it's amazing. After we went over to get to see the transit bus today to get some pieces and parts that we could get back from that before they took it to the impound, and seeing it again is lots of blessings to those two folks and their families for sure.
It was troubling to be at the scene after it had happened, but rewarding in the way of watching the first responders. And we do have 3 first responders that we would like to invite to the January board meeting that, and we got to really see in action that literally saved the driver's life, literally. She would have not been here today if they weren't there, staying there with her and making sure that she survived. It was really scary to watch. So it took them 45 minutes to get her out of the transit bus. As the investigation is pretty much wrapping up, they've pretty much concluded. There was a truck driver that was at fault. There was a couple of things. There was already an accident that was there. There was a funeral procession. Traffic was already slowing down. People were trying to get over so that they gave the other accident space, and everything just kind of logged up. But it looks like maybe there were some people that were still going pretty fast and flying pretty low, and things kind of just happened very quickly. So we're just very fortunate they are. A lot of people want to know where the bus was going. We do have some students that attend a school down in Kettering. So they were going down there to pick those students up. It was the end of their day. They go down there, pick them up, and they bring them back. And obviously the accident prevented that, so Mr. Lyons and I was able to get down there and get the students, get them home safely. So
Each one of all of our staff members, as always in times of crisis like this, lots of different collections and cards and things that have gone down to the families, and just an outpouring of support from the staff. So it's been really, really nice too.
So hopefully January we'll be able to get those troopers here, as well as the 2 individuals. They personally requested to be there. So we would have done something now, but they said, no, you have to make sure that we're there and we get to give those people big hugs. So hopefully January we'll be able to pull it together.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda? We have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on old business, we just have the final approval on the Neola policy.
And that was just that one policy that we left off. It was just some general changes, nothing big.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the policy change?
So moved.
Have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for new business, we just, a couple quick things. We need to schedule our organizational meeting. That has to be done before January 10th, isn't that the cutoff? What would Monday the 7th of January, would that work?
I'm not available, but I'm gonna be the most difficult one to deal with here.
We've
And
heard that.
The only day that I'm available is the 9th, unfortunately.
Well,
But you certainly can hold the meeting without me. I'm not going to
In
attend.
the evening?
we could go, yeah, and it'll be a fairly short meeting. There'll be just a couple pieces of other business we have to do, but
I would only be available at 6 o'clock
at 6
or
o'clock.
later at that time, the 9th.
6 o'clock on the 9th? Okay.
Would that be here?
It would be here. Okay, do we have a motion to that effect?
Frank, does that work?
Yes, it
Okay,
works. Thank
so
you.
moved.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? And the other thing we have to do for the organizational meeting is appoint a president pro tem. In the past, the past president does that. Frank, would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay, can we have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Have a second? If there's no further discussion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And you've also been given, we don't need to approve this tonight, but you've been given a list of potential dates for the 2019 board meetings. That's very much like we've been doing. There's just, and if there's any, if you look at that and you see any conflicts that you know of now, make sure you bring that with you on the 9th, so we can make those adjustments now. And next thing on there, Dwayne, you want to?
Recommend board approval of the Upper Valley Career Medical Center and the Piqua City Schools notice of proposed extension of the amended of the sponsorship, marketing, and naming rights agreement. So we have had an agreement with Premier Health for the last 10 years. I think, if I remember correctly, Piqua was probably the first that got that put in place. It doesn't change what our facilities are named, but collectively as a campus, if you will, Upper Valley Medical Center has naming rights on that whole collective right, and as a result of that, we get many benefits. So the contract that we had in place would be a renewal, basically. There's no changes in it, other than a couple here. So the changes are, it will be a 5-year contract versus a 10-year that we did the last time, and we did some additions to wellness because we are really working on our wellness plan here, and we've got a great partnership with them, so we wanted to try to make sure we were benefiting with them and getting some different things for our wellness program for the staff and students. So those are the two things that were changes. Overall, the contract will provide annual payments of $75,000 for the maintenance of athletic fields and sports facilities. They provide a full-time Premier Health athletic trainer for us, as well as they pay the stipend for our athletic trainer, Katie Smith, who's at the high school. They're going to give us discounts for wellness programs for staff and students, and all total, the 5-year contract is an estimated worth of $775,000. So along with that, though, we get the benefits of just having their partnership. They participate in our Business Advisory Council, which is a great thing to have, and most recently, all superintendents in Miami County, we've all been trying to find ways to meet the needs of our students that have mental health issues, as well as drug problems, and there's just nothing in this area for us. So we took it upon ourselves to write a letter and to send that to Premier Health because they've got partnerships with many of us. They embraced it completely. We're very excited about getting the letter and actually have responded back, and they're really looking hard at adding services to our area to help meet the needs of the students of Piqua as well as all the other communities. So the partnership's paying off for all of us that have had that with them in order to get some good things for our students. So basically a renewal for that under those conditions.
Okay.
And then recommend board approval of the resolution declaring it necessary to levy a renewal tax with an increase and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection with the proposed tax levy. So I want to show you a few things about that. We'll talk about why we're doing this. And tonight would be basically certifying the language. You guys would be approving if you wanted to approve to move forward with the levy, and then at that time we would start official campaign. So just some history. This levy started back in 1994. It was for 3.5 mils at that time, and it generated $889,000. The district, we've shared many times, has really been careful about only asking for what they need. So our predecessors have been very careful each time that got renewed every 5 years to make sure that they really looked at what is the need. And you can see how it's been decreased over time. Currently, we're generating 1.8 mils, and it's $178,946 annually that we're getting for that. What do we use those monies for? We purchase 2 buses every year to maintain our cost-effective fleet. I did put a little article over here, not to pick on anybody, but Dayton got into a really tough situation where they did not have a rotation of their buses. We have 26 buses in our circulation. We buy 2 every year, and we usually retire 2 every year. We try to keep some extra for our sporting outings, our field trips, and those kinds of things. But we run our buses until about the time when they're really ready to retire. This year, for example, we had one that really broke down. The motor mount cracked, and it would have been more to repair it than to do anything different with it. We actually got more money out of it by recycling it than trying to keep it into service. So what happened with Dayton was they ended up having to buy 115 buses all at once, and there's just no way you can do that. So they had to go through some leasing, they had to do some special financing. So I'm very fortunate that, again, our predecessors saw this plan, put it in place years ago. We continue to follow it and make sure that we really do have a good bus fleet in place for our students. We also are working with paying off the lease purchase of the Piqua High School HVAC system. So back in 2011, the HVAC system needed to be replaced on an aging system, and again, instead of going to the taxpayers, they did a lease purchase, and that was the best thing they could do for the taxpayers at that time in saving money. However, that's costing us $315,000 each year to pay toward in order to get that paid off. So that leaves us annually with about $164,000. That money has been used for maintenance as well as all the safety work that we've been doing. So we did the entrances to the high school and the junior high, lots of camera work, resurfacing parking lots, door security, those kinds of things is what we've been using that money for. We're finding, though, that we have a lot of other things that are starting to trickle in, especially at the high school and junior high, since they're aging buildings, that we're going to have to do some different things with. Here's all the list of things that we have come up with that we really need to take care of at the Piqua High School. It was built and opened in 1980. All the things in yellow are things that we've already been able to take care of. Some of those things we had to work on very quickly because they were detrimental to the building, such as when we found out that the envelope was leaking, water was getting in between that and the brick. The roof had some serious issues. Those were about between $5 and $6 million projects. We did not have that money in our permanent improvement account. We had to take some of that from general funds, which really is not the best practice. So some of those things will also lead to a sequence of events. We know we've got to do some upgrades in electrical work, for example, in the cafeteria area, but it's under the flooring. So if we get in there to do that, we're going to have to tear up the flooring, which means we're going to have to repair the flooring as well. So there are some things we haven't been able to do yet because it's going to be one thing after another, and we don't have the money to do both of them in a row. So we've tried to take care of as much as what we can right now. Window replacement is going to be important. We have a number of windows that, because of the water that got in the envelope, have really rusted out all the way around them. Some of them you can actually see some skylight out between the cracks when you look at them. They're just not in good condition right now. We're going to have to really get those replaced for the efficiency of the building as well. You're probably pretty familiar with that list. Was there any questions on anything that's up there on the high school? Again, 40 years old. The building is in great condition. Way back when we did the OSFC project for the new buildings, the state recommended a new high school. They recommended tearing that down, and fortunately our predecessors said no way, and I say the same thing. The building is really good. We can do a lot of things, save a lot of money, and make that building still a top condition. Here's the junior high school. It will turn 20 years old this year. The improvements that we've done are already in yellow there. One of the key things that we had to do there was we did the sub-metering of the electric and gas. We were finding that the bills for that building were extremely out of ordinary. They were higher than other buildings, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. So we found out that the high school, the junior high, and the stadium were all kind of metered into one building, and that was affecting how gas and electric was being allocated to the buildings. So we sub-metered those and found out very quickly that the junior high was the culprit. And part of how it's built, you can't really see very well in that, but the high ceilings, the number of windows, the fact that there are wooden frames on those windows have all caused an inefficiency of that building. It was built by a different company than the other buildings that we have. It was a different time period where architecture was different for schools. So finding that out has given us a list of the other things that we need to work on to put in place. Our boilers are going to need to be replaced here pretty soon. We're running them probably until they die on us. So that might be one of our next pieces we're going to have to put in place. We did replace the chillers this summer, and that helped us quite a bit with our efficiency. We are going to have to work on a lit walkway on Tomahawk Trail. We have a number of kids that are coming from the Indian Ridge territory. Right now, we've estimated about 14 students that are actually walking that area. There's no sidewalk currently there. It is dark. If it's foggy or any other conditions, it's just not safe for them. There are a number of new houses being built in that area. It's really thriving right now. So we've projected out how many more students could potentially be in that area. So we've had some engineers look at it. We're looking at working with the city on some safe routes to school grants, but sometimes that's a 3-year process, and I don't think we can wait for 3 years. So we really need to work on a lit walkway that will go there. Another thing that's always been on our radar, as well as the Career Center in Edison, we've all been talking about it together and potentially could work on it together, but some type of walkway between the 3 campuses. There's no high school in this area that has the kind of campus setup that we do right now. We're so lucky that our kids can walk between those campuses and get the kinds of programming that they have. So if we can get a better system than what we have there and get some kind of a walkway, it would be really great for those students. Is going to be 18 years old here really soon. It doesn't look that way, obviously. Just this year, we had 5 out of 6 of the playoff games for football, and it brought over 28,000 students and parents and other people from other areas into our community. So it's a great asset, and you can see some of the work we've already done in the yellow. We do on the building part on the front, we're starting to get some cracks in the foundation that we're going to have to work on because they'll continue to evolve. So we're going to have to do some work on that facility as well. Just some photos of some of the work. You can see the chillers on the left being put into the junior high school this summer. Some of the roof that we're doing at the high school, I think that's the last section of roofing that they're working on right up there in that high point. We have the cranes there. Both the junior high and the high school got new entrances this summer to help us with our safety plan, which have worked out very well for our buildings. We did a lot of security with our cameras. We do have somebody monitoring cameras right now, which is a great asset for our safety program, but we do have some areas that we want to continue to upgrade with some camera systems that will give us less blind spots. We are trying to get onto a maintenance program for our lots. It's been a while since they've been resurfaced, and we don't want them getting cracks that are going to take a lot more money to repair. So we've tried to get through the older buildings that have lots and do sections of them each summer with the money we have left over in our payment account. You can just see some of the brickwork they had to do once they got that water out between the brick, the envelope, and then some of the roofing work that we've done at the high school. The language of the ballot would read something like, well, not something, but it would be this. Whereas the authority to levy that 1 8/10, 1.8 mil tax expires with a levy to be made on the 2018 tax list and duplicate for collection in the calendar year of 2019 in order to provide for the collection of tax revenues without interruption, this board finds it necessary to renew the existing 1 8/10, 1.8 mil levy with an increase of 1 2/10, 1.2 mils, constituting a levy of 3.0 mils for the purpose of general permanent improvements for a continuing period of time. In this case, the average median house value in Piqua is currently $90,000. So 1 mil would basically equal $31.50 for the average median income. So that's what we'd be talking about. Just to show you again the trends, it started at 3.5 when we first started it. They went down to what they only needed. We're asking for 3 at this point because we've calculated what we need to do for those projects to get those done, to make those buildings up to par for what we need for them to be for our students. We've tried to do a lot of things to save money, and that's what's allowed us to use those PI monies, so I want to point some of that out. The Honeywell project right here came about from Frank and I having a great conversation with our city manager. He recommended them to come and help us do an efficiency study in our buildings, and that's where we found out the junior high was so out of whack, so to speak. But with all the projects that we've done with them, these are our current bills at those locations. Look at the difference between the junior high and the high school and the stadium, from last year being the dark lines and this year being the white lines. So that is a pretty significant difference with our energy savings at those locations, particularly at the stadium in October when more football games and events are happening there than any other month. So the efficiency that we put in place has really, really paid off. We were able to get a grant that allowed us to buy 2 buses, and we got 2 free buses. So we did that last year, and that helped us out quite a bit in order to repair that bus that I was talking about that we actually had to get rid of in our fleet. Our Premier Health partnership, without those funds, we were never able to do our turf. We did a whole new track with that system, and we've also provided staffing. It's invaluable in terms of, we've told the story where their trainer that they provided to us last year at a track meet actually saved the life of a student. A student from another district collapsed at the track meet. It was the trainer they provided that was able to get there and save that student's life, so invaluable. The Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland demand rebate, that was something that we found actually by accident, but we applied for it. It was a simple process. We did some research to find it, but we ended up getting a check back because of the grid that we're on and the fact that we did the Honeywell savings. They cut us a check for $10,000 just for being a part of that project. So a great piece for us. We, of course, downsized our board office and relocated, which will save an estimated $100,000 a year. We do strategic staff replacements. Anytime a staff retires or resigns, we put them on a spreadsheet. We put the total cost of that person, and then when we do hiring, we always make sure we're less or the same, and we watch that through the whole hiring season to make sure that our budget stays within or gets lower, so that we can, forecast that out for 5 years. So a lot of good strategic there. We did not replace certain programs. Instead, we replaced them with different things. So you heard Rob talk about how we added some programs. We don't always add programs. Sometimes we shift programs around and make those changes that way, so we can offer new things to the students at no cost actually to us. When we do our procurement process for the RFP or request for proposals, we always ask for 3 bids. We always try to look at local, but we always look for the taxpayer too, and look for those best bids that are going to be the cheapest rate for us. We did work on some preventative maintenance agreements. We've done that with our HVAC system. We've done that with our parking lots. The whole purpose of that is to, again, make sure that we're being upfront with the fixes rather than waiting for something to fully break and then have to come in and put a big chunk of money into it. So having people look at the preventative parts of it and getting us ahead of the game has been very helpful for us to save some money. We've been working really hard to pay the junior high school off early. We've been putting some extra money to that whenever we can. We are going to be able to pay that off a year in advance, which is going to save over $1 million of taxpayer dollars. That's a huge, huge savings. We're going to do the same thing with the lease agreement. By paying that off early, we project we should be able to save about $500,000 of taxpayer dollars. So we're always looking for those ways. We're always going to continue to do that, and that's a good thing for our taxpayers, for us to be able to save that money. Finally, just to kind of explain this, what we currently have is the 1.8. We have 2.2 debt for our junior high school, which currently gives 4 mills. Our goal is to pay off the junior high and get rid of that 2.2. In doing so, we want to renew the 1.8. We want to add the 1.2 that we talked about, which would give us 3. And again, at the average annual house value, 1 mil would be about $31.50. So if we go across this chart, you would see the value of the homes in Piqua. We currently have 1.8 mils in place, so that's what people are currently paying with their taxes. We're requesting to renew that, but to add the 1.2 so we can get these projects done. That's how much it would cost if we added 1.2 for those houses. That would give them the total of this for the year in taxes for the homeowner, and it would give this much per day for that, the cost of that. So if the average home was $90,000, they were currently paying $56.70. The 1.2 would add $37.80 on for the year, which would give them a total of $94.50, or they'd be paying 26 cents a day for the levy. They're ultimately saving $31.50 though, because we're reducing the 4 mills that we're currently paying down to 3. So this would show the savings that everybody would get into those categories, even though we were adding 1.2 onto the PI levy, because we're getting rid of the early debt of the Piqua Junior High School as well as the HVAC system. We're saving money. We're going to get the money that we need to get those projects done by putting together this levy in terms of passing the 1.A, renewing that, and adding the 1.2. Are there any questions?
The only, it's not a question, it's, you know, this would allow us then to bring the new junior high and the new high school up to the same capabilities. So we got the three new buildings, so students coming up now will be able to enjoy the same facilities that we've got in the newer buildings.
That's a good point. So my first year, we did a phone survey just to get some general information so we knew what work was ahead of us. Excuse me. One of the questions we asked in the survey was, do you think the high school and junior high school students should have modern facilities or updated facilities to match what was happening with the elementary? And overwhelmingly, the answer was yes.
We can bring those two buildings up equal to the new buildings, and we're still saving.
The taxpayer will still realize those changes right there. If you know, a lot of times they'll use $100,000 for a home, so if there was $100,000, basically it'd be 29 cents a day. They're still getting back $35 on their tax bill this year because we will be paying off the junior high school early, which again is saving over $1 million in tax. So this, if you vote on this tonight, you would be approving the language. Our hope is that the city would understand, the citizens would understand what we're trying to accomplish in terms of upgrading our facilities for the students. And then the second time you would go through the read, you would actually be approving the levy campaign itself, and then it would begin after that process. So tonight's vote would basically indicate that you approved the language, which was right there.
I can attest to the bus situation, because when I see buses from other schools coming in to our site, and then I see the Piqua buses coming in, you know, you have to wonder how some of those buses get there and get back.
We have an amazing mechanic too. I mean, Matt Hartley, I tell you, it doesn't get any better than him. He's amazing at what he does for our buses. And we're always first in the area to get our inspections passed in the summer, and he does a really, really nice job.
Does
Any
anybody else
questions
have
I can answer?
any thoughts?
Okay, I think that's
We
it.
probably should approve those two
Yes.
separately. Because let's back up to the Upper Valley, to the Premier Health sponsorship first. We have a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We probably need to call the roll on this one.
Mr. Patrizio?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken?
Aye.
Mr. Bostic?
Aye.
Mr. Height?
Aye. And the second is the language on the ballot.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, we do need to call the roll on this as well.
Mr. Patrizio?
Aye.
Mr. Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken?
Aye.
Mr. Bostic?
Aye.
Mr. Height?
Aye, motion carries.
Just one last thing, just our condolences go out to longtime Piqua educator and athletic coach and director, Ed Perk. His wife, Julia, passed away yesterday, and their daughter still teaches in our district, Kathy Grazier, and just our thoughts and prayers to that family as they work through that.
Okay, I have nothing on hearing from the public on non-agenda items. We do need a motion to go into executive session for the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of employee, student, and/or school official as permitted by High Revised Code 121.22. We have a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we will take no action when we come out of executive session. Thank you all.
What's the time?
Oh, let's see.